Frank Salona and Derek Philo. We are with WHBC Sports 1480 WHBC, so we appreciate you tuning in with us. And guys, as I just mentioned, we're at Benson here tonight. We will be here 3 more times over the next couple years. We'll start with Frank, because I know you're working with the Hall of Fame Luncheon Club, where this was announced the other day.
Yeah, you know, Billy, it was great because we had Doug Ute, the executive director of the OHSAA, who was our guest speaker that day. And Doug, along with Rich DeRocha from the Pro Football Hall of Fame, they were there. And before Doug got started, he said, "I'm just going to put this out there right now. We have agreed. We've signed the paperwork. We're going to stay here for 3 more years." And I'll tell you what, the place erupted. It was great because you know, those guys there, they appreciate certainly the OHSAA bringing the games here, and now they're going to stay for an additional 3 more years.
Frank, during that meeting and when it was announced, do you remember some of the main points as to why it'll be staying here in Canton?
Well, I think for one, the facility is second to none. I mean, look around, and if you guys are able to come and see this facility, I mean, it is the best in the nation, bar none. You know, there's nothing better than this, certainly in the state of Ohio, for these young men to play these games. And you're right next door to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That certainly is what every guy out there is dreaming about, one day being in that Pro Football Hall of Fame. So those 2 things for sure, and then obviously the way that that Canton really rolls out the red carpet for these people, and when they come in town, the hotels, the restaurants, everything that has to do with this whole weekend is really first class here in Canton.
Frank, Billy, Derek, I think sometimes there's feedback about will they ever move these games back to Columbus, and the challenge in doing it there when they used to have them there is you could put 10,000 people in Ohio Stadium and it looks like it's empty. And when you get the kind of crowd response that you get here, especially for tonight's game between Massillon, Washington, and Akron-Hoban, this place will probably be nearly full. And if you put 8,000 in this stadium, it looks a lot better. Not that the kids wouldn't like to play at Ohio State. Everybody would dream of doing that just about in the state of Ohio. But it's a great place to have it here. And Derek, as Frank was talking about, Canton knows how to roll out the red carpet. I know you play a role in that when Hall of Fame weekend gets here. It's an exciting time for everybody that weekend, and this weekend is similar.
Oh, definitely. And you know, as a player, I don't care where you are, what level you're playing at, you know, you have aspirations of playing higher. And a lot of these kids, you know, with the whole idea of starting here at the Hall of Fame, you know, and possibly ending here at the Hall of Fame, that's something that a lot of these kids have in mind.
And guys, real quick, we'll talk about the stadium and the city itself welcoming everybody and bringing everybody in, but outside the football stadium is another reason a lot of people are interested right now in the Hall of Fame Village, what's being built here. Bill, we'll start with you. The progress over the past, let's say, 2 years, let alone what's going to come in the next 2 years, it's been tremendous, and it's starting to draw more and more people to Canton and this little Hall of Fame Village we have here.
Well, there's no question about that, Billy. And when you talk about the progress, if you're a fan who hasn't been down for a couple of years and you're used to driving on 77 southbound or northbound, and you saw the stadium, and you saw the Pro Football Hall of Fame and its expansion, and now you're driving down for tonight's game or any of the other games on Friday or Saturday, and you look over and you're like, holy Toledo, it looks a whole lot different, and it does. And Frank, I know your role in your professional full-time job, you've seen a lot of that. What we're talking about
restaurants that are in the Hall of Fame Village, the shops, things have really changed and will continue to do so.
Yeah, it's incredible the growth that we've seen over just the last couple of years. I mean, this certainly has been incredible just as a resident here to watch it. You know, you go by here every day and it's like, boy, that's something new, that's something new, you know. The restaurants, as you mentioned, Bill, you know, we've got local restaurants that are taking part in this, and we've got national restaurants that are taking part here. So it's so welcoming, and it's, you know, it's that village, you know, it's that village approach where everything is right here and put together. Where, and Derek, you know this. I mean, you've got guys that are coming in during the Hall of Fame enshrinement, and they see this, and they're like, wow, what a difference from a year ago.
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, you talk about, you guys already mentioned the restaurants and whatnot, and just the buildings popping up, but we got hotels coming and things like that, and it just seems like the right spot to be hosting this.
Billy, I have a question for you before you dive into the next question. Have you been on the Ferris wheel yet over in the Hall of Fame Village?
I have not. I'm not a Heights guy, but I was just going to say, I mean, if you're going to multiple games Saturday, you can take a break, get a little Topgolf in, little brew kettle in. Like you said, Bill, there's a Ferris wheel over there. Great Don Shula's Steakhouse. I mean, there are options now if you need a little break to head over. And Derek just mentioned, I believe it's 2025, a brand new water park should be done, installed, and ready to go here in the Hall of Fame Village, along with a world-class hotel. So next year, the year after that, if you're interested in coming down and say, man, I want to catch 2 games or 3 games, I don't know where to stay, I don't know what to do, those questions, easy to answer for you. A lot of fun stuff coming. And like you guys talked about, food's one thing. I know, Brew Kettle has Topgolf with it, and then soon the water park and the hotel will be tremendous. So the OHSAA State Football Championships will stay in Canton the next 3 years, 2024, 2025, and 2026. Very excited. I know everybody in Canton very excited for that, but the OHSAA happy to do that, and like we talked about a lot there. Guys, we got a ton to talk about. First, I want to give everybody times and games that are happening over the next couple days. We'll talk about those matchups as we go through that. We'll talk about the winner of Ohio's Mr. Football this year, which was announced at 4 o'clock today, and then, of course, we will get you set for the only game tonight, Thursday night, Massillon Washington High School, mainly known as Massillon, against Hoban. That's a close one, and I believe the attendance was 18,000 last time these two teams played here at Tom Benson Hall of Fame, so it's going to be a fun watch.
It'll be more tonight, guarantee it.
I like that.
Guarantee
I like that. We appreciate everybody who does come out, everybody who watches, everybody who listens. You're supporting, kids that are just working hard and making their dreams come true in one way or another playing high school football. So, of course, we talked about it tonight. Massillon 15-0 versus Akron Hoban. They're 13-1. That's a 7 p.m. start. Kirtland against Versailles tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Guys, I always kind of like those just because the sun's out and I'll be driving back from work or driving around town and it's fun to just drive past the stadium. There's a state championship going on so casually. So that's the first one leading off Friday. And then Toledo Central Catholic, who's 15-0, against Columbus Bishop Watterson, 14-1. That is tomorrow at 3 p.m.
And while Billy flips the page, you can catch all of those games on the OHSAA radio network, as well as on Spectrum TV Live via both of those broadcast venues.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that's the biggest question too, right, guys? How can I watch? How can I listen? We've talked about it. Spectrum News One, the Spectrum News app, OHSAA.org. That'll connect you to watching and listening, so that's the way to go. Sticking with Friday, the primetime game, the 7:30 game, a team we're familiar with, a little closer to Northeast Ohio, Springfield. I'm reading this right. We'll talk about this later, guys. Springfield 10-5 against Lakewood St. Ed, 13-1. That's a 7:30 game. Lakewood's only loss coming against Massillon, so we'll talk about that later. We're moving to Saturday, 10:30 a.m. I know you guys will be back talking, hosting, getting us ready for that one. Maria Stein, Marion Local, 15-0. That's the most accomplished program maybe playing this weekend against Dalton. That's 10:30 a.m. Division 5, Perry against Liberty Center. That's Saturday at 3 p.m. And then Saturday, primetime, Division 4, Cleveland Glenville against Kettering Archbishop Alter. And that's Saturday, 7:30 p.m. So a full slate of games there, guys. Again, OHSAA.org. You can go. I mean, a great list. I'll say 2 things. Great list. It lists the games very well. So if you want to just see where it's at, and then it's got a full breakdown of all the teams, which we'll get to in just a second. Before we do that, fellas, Mr. Football was announced. Ohio's Mr. Football, 4 p.m. today. OHSAA does a great job getting that set up, making that announcement just before the game. The winner this year, Cincinnati Moeller's Jordan Marshall, the senior running back, is the 37th winner in the history of the award. 6 foot, 250. He had 149 first place votes. So impressive there. And guys, kind of give some thoughts behind Mr. Football, the award, and kind of the talent we've seen in the past, and maybe a little bit about Jordan Marshall and Moeller. We'll start with Derek.
Well, if you look at the history of the award, I mean, and then you see where they went afterwards, that to me is the most impressive thing. So it's kind of exciting to see where he's going to go from here. And it's an illustrious award because Ohio is a hotbed of football. And, with that being said, you know the kid's going to be successful at the next level. So, I think that's the most exciting part.
Yeah, and I know we all wanted Poochie Snyder to win this. Let's just put that out there right now. As far as
he's a local guy.
Being from locally here in Canton, Poochie had a great season. We saw him play many games, and I know Derek, you coached him back when he was in the junior high level. But imagine the talent. I mean, we know what Poochie did this year.
Yeah.
Imagine the talent that this young man has that won over Poochie, and really, I mean, incredible performances. Moeller, a great program, Bill. That they've got a solid stable of running backs down there, and for this guy to step up and win that award, that's saying something about this kid.
And in case people have forgotten over the years, and if you're a hardcore football fan, I'm sure you probably haven't, but you're talking about a place where a high school coach once left to go be the head coach at Notre Dame, and Jerry Faust. I mean, that if you wrote that in a movie script, Hollywood would just kick it out the door. Not believable, not going to happen. But that's exactly what happened. Of course, Jerry Faust later on would come and be the coach at the University of Akron. And Derek, I thought you brought up a great point. All the guys who have won this award, many of whom have gone on to tremendous things in their career. And I think outside of the state of Ohio, now all four of us may be a little bit biased toward Ohio, but we hear a lot about great football players in Texas and Florida, and the list goes on like that, but Ohio is one heck of a state for high school football. You've got Michigan coming down here looking for players, Michigan State, all the MAC schools in this state. I mean, it is, maybe short of Texas and Florida, an absolute hotbed for high school football.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, this list was tremendous. I'll give credit to the runner-up was junior running back Marquise Davis from Cleveland Heights. We'll have to keep an eye on that for next year, guys. You feel like he may be a front runner or a guy in the mix. Cleveland Heights had a tremendous year.
Yeah.
They were a high-scoring offense led by Marquise Davis. And as you guys mentioned, the list in the past, I know we got a great look at Lamar Sperling last year. He won the award and got to play in the state title game. Looking through the list today, of course, Mitch Trubisky, who made it to the NFL, still in the NFL. And then right now making waves for Ohio State, Cade Stover. You guys talk about not only the journey to the next school, but position-wise, Cade Stover was everything in high school, but he gets to the next level. He's a defensive end. He transitions. Now he's a tight end. So it is fun to kind of see the talent develop as they hit college. Anybody you've noted, Frank, over the past couple of years?
Well, one guy, it's not been a couple of years, but it's been a while, is Robert Smith. Robert Smith from Euclid was an incredible talent, and he went on to play at Ohio State, obviously went on to play in the NFL, and he was an Ohio Mr. Football as well.
Yeah, you bring up Lamar Sperling, from Akron Hoban last year, and to see him now at Buffalo and to see what he's doing, it's just, it's exciting, as I mentioned, and there's some big names, even NFL names that have come up through the years.
Well, it's ironic too, guys, because from the list, I'd have to go through it again, but I don't think any of them, if maybe one or two, are actually playing in the state championship. So all that talent moving on to the next level, and a couple times we've gotten to see him in state title games, but it just goes to show you it is a team game, and we know from interviewing players, talking to players, I mean, these guys are so humble. They give a lot of credit to their teammates, reasons they have the success they do. Bill, have you noticed that in the past from star guys and big-time players in the area?
For sure. Whenever you hear, especially if it happens to be, as they call it, a skill position player, a quarterback, now left tackle to right tackle, those guys would say, hey, we're skill position players too, but we in the media tend to call them skill position players. You will hear the quarterback say, hey, if it wasn't for those five guys up front, I wouldn't get to do what I do. So certainly there is a lot of credit for that. And really, if you're sitting in a part of the state watching our OHSAA Tailgate show tonight, and you're saying, what about that guy from our area? Every one of those candidates, and there were 8 finalists, they all have legitimate stats. They all could be Mr. Football, but in the end, much like of all the teams playing in Divisions 1 through 7, only one ends up a state champion. That doesn't mean that many of them were not outstanding teams. Only one finishes as the winner, though.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. And Frank, with that vote, very difficult because, like you guys mentioned, some teams undefeated, some teams in the state title, some not. Quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, this many yards, that many yards, this many touchdowns. I mean, really tough to tell and kind of vote for, but I can say it seems like every time that vote comes out, it makes sense at the end of the year.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think they get it right most of the time, if not all of the time. I'm certain that like Bill said, there's pockets of talent, in different parts of the state, and there are guys that certainly deserve to win this, whether their team goes undefeated or doesn't win a game. That person is a valuable player for that team, and it's a tough thing. I don't think I'd want to be one of the guys that has to pick this, but I wouldn't mind putting a vote in there for some of these kids. I know we see a lot of great talent in our area, I think that you could pretty much have an argument for just about anybody across the state of Ohio on certain teams that could win this award.
And Derek, sticking with the talk about teamwork and what benefits different players, you've done some coaching, and a running back, even if he's Mr. Football, is only so valuable as, say, his offensive line or the defense that gets him the ball back, right?
Oh, the thing that I like the most is when those kids give credit to that offensive line or give credit to the defensive front or things like that.
The smart ones do.
Yeah, definitely, especially the quarterbacks who give credit to their big guys in front of them, But you're exactly right, and those skill position guys tend to be the ones that get the awards, but I think the big guys up front definitely take pride in the fact that they helped him get there.
Well, you're watching the OHSAA Tailgate pregame show. Billy Beebe, Bill Morgan, Frank Salona, Derek Philo with you. We'll be with you until 6:40. That's when we'll turn it over to Spectrum News 1 and the radio network to kind of get you set for this one. Only one game tonight, Hoban and Massillon, with plenty of time to break down that game. I know we're pretty familiar in this group with Massillon, being from Canton and the Stark County area. And then, of course, Hoban is all too familiar with Massillon and vice versa, so that'll be a great matchup. Guys, one thing I wanted to run through before we move forward, I thought this was interesting, went through and got the number of state titles in the playoff era for all the teams participating in state championships this weekend. We'll start with the leader, Marion Local, with 13 state titles. They are looking for number 14. Bill, what a number to head into the weekend.
Well, certainly when you look at that number, and you tend to hear more, for whatever reason, about the bigger schools. Maybe it's because they're in bigger media markets. I'm not sure. But Marion Local is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And they're dominant being in a smaller school division, and maybe that's why you don't hear quite as much about them. But if you follow high school football in Ohio and you say, who's that? I've never heard of them. You're not paying very close attention.
Well, and guys, that conference alone has put out state champions. You got Coldwater, you got Minster, you've got New Bremen, you got Marion Local. I mean, top to bottom, it's incredible. I mean, I don't think we'll ever see the success, and if we do, I'd be surprised, of that particular conference at different levels. And Derek, you know this. I mean, that's tough to win a state championship, let alone 4 or 5 teams from one conference.
Yeah, week in, week out, starting with week 1, those guys, they beat the crap out of each other, and then they could go 5-5, 6-4, still make playoffs, and you end up getting a state champion out of it.
Yeah, we could have a great conversation about that as far as iron sharpens iron, guys. I mean, a lot of teams scheduling tough competition, sometimes in state, sometimes out of state. Bill, any examples you've noticed this season where a team has scheduled another team that kind of seemed like, whoa, this could be difficult, makes them better throughout the season, right?
Well, you talk about a team like Massillon, who's playing tonight. They played a team from Georgia. They had wanted to get them on the schedule forever. Finally, they get that game on the schedule, and Massillon absolutely lowered the hammer on them in that matchup. And then even if you look, not speaking directly to what you asked about, Billy, but and we'll talk about this when we get to Division I, but Springfield had 5 losses coming into the playoffs.
Yes.
Now here they are back in the OHSAA championship game. I think it's the 3rd consecutive year. So you may not have the best regular season record, but you know what? Some of these teams are crazy talented, and we assumedly will see that in the Division I game.
Yeah, whether it is conference-wise, out of state, I know locally, when Massillon plays teams out of state and then teams schedule Massillon to kind of build things up, that's always interesting. Going through that list again, guys, Versailles, they've got 7 state titles heading into this weekend. Archbishop Hoban has 5. I missed St. Ed's and Kirtland. They both have 6. I know St. Ed's is looking for their 3rd in a row. That'll be something we talk about later. We're going to give you one note on every team and kind of react to that. Toledo Central Catholic, they've got 4. Archbishop Alter and Bishop Watterson. They both have 2. Glenville got their first last year. Liberty Center has 1. And the list we all kind of waited for. Who's looking for number 1? Who's trying to get there first? Dalton, Massillon, Perry, and Springfield tonight. Massillon, that opportunity to grab number 1. Derek, we know that feeling here locally, but I mean, people talk about it, chatter about it. It's funny when you see these tweets and this information put out there. Massillon's looking for number 1. The response is right away. Massillon doesn't have one. Massillon doesn't have not in the playoff era. They're searching for number 1. So tonight could be a very special night for the Massillon Tigers.
Yeah, the excitement has built up all year. I know we've talked to Coach Moore a few times on a show that we do each Saturday morning, and he keeps talking about the next game, the next game, the next game. Well, we're at that final game, and the excitement is there, and the fan bases of these 2 teams we're seeing tonight, Akron Hoban and Massillon Washington, these are 2 of the best fan bases I think in the state, so that's exciting for them. And I know that being a local person here, familiar with Massillon, this is something that they have been waiting for a long time.
Yeah, and I think too, guys, I think it's more about getting that monkey off your back of the state championships that they have on their stadium. It lists all those state championships before the playoff era, and I know they're proud of it. The community's proud of it, but I think to really prove something, they really want this one because it's on the field. It's determined by a game that's going to be played between the 2 best teams that have made it this far.
Yeah.
And Bill, you can't argue that one. You just can't argue that one anymore.
You know what? Massillon is kind of like Ohio State. Now, see where I go here. My guy Frank, he was in Ann Arbor over the weekend, and, well, the Buckeyes didn't come away with the win. If you're Ohio State and you can't beat Michigan, people aren't happy. If you're Massillon, and as successful as they have been the last couple of seasons, they want nothing more than to win the state title. Is 15-0 impressive? Yes, it is. But they want the state title, or in the end, they'll be disappointed over in the western part of Stark County.
Yeah, we've been at the last couple of games. It is a quick, efficient, back to the buses, back to the stadium type of celebration for the Tigers. They've had this goal in mind, and Frank mentioned the monkey on the back. I think there's 2. You want to beat Hoban.
Yeah.
And, of course, I think they may have an extra smile on their face that it's Hoban, and as they've had a back and forth the past couple of years, whether it be in the semifinals, the state championships like we talked about. I believe it was 2018. It was here at Benson and ended up being an 18,000 attended game. So again, one more time on that list, Marion Local, 13 state championships heading into the weekend. Versailles has 7. Kirtland and St. Ed's, they both have 6. Archbishop Hoban has 5. Toledo Central Catholic with 2. Archbishop Alter and Bishop Watterson have 2. Glenville has 1. Liberty Center has 1. Dalton, Massillon, Perry, and Springfield searching for that first. And one more time, guys, I mean, that sweet feeling of number 1 going to be really good if Massillon can get it tonight. For Hoban, I mean, they've been up and down at this point. I mean, they've had that championship, lost it, been back, won it, lost it. So we'll go through that. Got about 20 minutes left till we send you to Spectrum News 1 or the radio network with the OHSAA. We appreciate you tuning in with us, whether it be live on the OHSAA network or Facebook. Billy Beebe, Bill Morgan, Frank Salona, Derek Philo. What a roundtable we have standing with you tonight. Guys, I'm going to read you one interesting note from each team we'll run through. We still have a little bit of time here, and just give me a quick reaction from each of you guys on it. We'll start with St. Ed's, who play tomorrow night. The Eagles not only are going for their 3rd straight state championship, but their 5th under Coach Tom Lombardo.
Well, 3 state championships, if that occurs, speaks for itself. 1 state championship is one great accomplishment. You mentioned Cleveland Glenville picking up their first. Think of the unbelievable amount of talent they've had come out of Glenville. Heisman Trophy winners, something we were talking about earlier with the OHSAA Mr. Football Award. But Glenville's only won it once. So the fact that St. Ed's could win their 3rd straight, really very impressive to be sure.
Yeah, I think, again, very impressive, the history that this organization, or this program, I should say, has. And I've seen them play once this year. I covered them up in Cleveland, and they were without their starting quarterback. and they didn't miss a beat. They did kind of miss a beat, though, against Massillon when they got beat down here. They were without, again, their starter. He is back this week. I believe he's going to play. So the thing about them is that they just plug guys in, and they're just so smooth, and they play pretty much mistake-free football, and that's what really is great about this program. St. Edward's is you talk about machines and teams that just have that tradition, and they're one of them.
Yeah, I mean, you set the standard, and that's it, and that's what they have done.
I feel like it set that standard for a state title, get back to it year after year. Coach Tom Lombardo, again, going for, again, a state title on Friday night. For Springfield, guys, we mentioned it earlier, Springfield started the season 3-5. That really doesn't give playoff vibes. It can put a team down. However, if you talk to them coming up this weekend, they're 10-5 playing for a state title.
Well, I guess when you talk about that, that seems almost unbelievable that a team was at 3-5, and this weekend they're playing for the state championship. Now, they have had outstanding programs over the years, without question, as you head down into the southwest part of the state in Springfield. But if you were to say to the average guy, this team's 3-5, they've been there in the past, do you think they'll get back this year? Maybe even the hardiest of Springfield fans would say, we might win a game or two in the playoffs, but I don't know about going to the state championship this year. Derek, it's hard to get back there year after year after year.
Oh, heck yeah, and it just shows what a schedule can do for you. The fact that you lost 5 games, against some good teams, and it just builds character.
Yeah, and Maurice Douglas has done an incredible job. I mean, let's really credit he and his staff for what they've done. When you're 3-5 and you end up 15-5, that's you're doing something right. You turn the tables and you click the switch or whatever it was to get this team to play well. And this is what, the third time that they're playing Eds, I believe, or third time in a row. So something's going on. Maybe they were just a little lackadaisical to start the season, but they got it going the right way now.
And Derek, you can speak to this as somebody who played quarterback when you were in high school. If a team struggles and you're sitting at 3-5, maybe the players sometimes check out and thinking, well, you know what, we're done for the year. But certainly Springfield did not do that.
Yeah, I have a feeling that they had a resolve that said, hey, our record is not that great right now, but we got to fight through that and see what happens.
All right, so great stuff there. Another program back to a state title, winning a lot lately and looking to do that again tonight. Tim Terrell's group and the Akron Archbishop Hoban Knights. This is their 8th state title appearance in 9 seasons, guys. They've won 5 state titles and finished runner-up twice as a program. Bill, that kind of speaks for itself, right?
I'm going to pass it over to Frank because, what else do you need to say except those numbers you just passed along? Anything I could say would kind of be, I guess, overstating the obvious. Frank, can you do better?
I'm just going to reiterate what I said about Lakewood St. Ed. I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, they're a team, a program that knows how to win. They've continued to win. They've put people in the right places. They've got the coaching staff. They've done everything right. I mean, year in and year out, they put a quality product out on the field, and it shows.
Well, you talk about, and I mentioned it earlier, but you talk about setting a standard, and that's exactly what Coach Terrell and his coaching staff have done. And to be a member at Hoban, it's a prestigious honor. These kids want to be there, and they're winners.
And their opponent tonight, guys, the Massillon Tigers. In the playoffs, they have yet to allow more than 7 points in any of their 5 games. Let me give this number to you: 212-32. They are outscoring their opponents.
Well, Billy, you and Frank saw Massillon last week, and very, very early in that game, it was tied at 7. Frank, after that, it was bye-bye Cincinnati Anderson.
Yeah, it was all over. I mean, the first 3 possessions, it went DeJuan Owens taking it to the house on the first play, Anderson coming back, putting together a small drive, putting it in the end zone. It was 7-7. The ensuing kickoff, Massillon takes it back for 90 yards for the score, and then it was over. At that point, Massillon said, that's enough, and they took control of the ball game from there and ended up winning it 55-7. And guys, this might be, I know we're from this area and we had a chance to see Massillon a few times this year. This is a team, of all the years that I've been doing this, I think this is the year for them. The depth that they have, the quality of players that they have everywhere. The offensive line, defensive line. Defense, we talk about the offense all the time. Their defense is unbelievable.
Well, you're exactly right. And in this matchup, there's 25 Division I college offers combined in this game.
Wow.
I'll tell you what, it's going to be a fun one to watch. You know, you got Massillon coming in here. I know we're focusing on them right now. 52 rushing touchdowns this year. You know, it's going to be fun to see what that Hoban team does against them rushing ball.
Speed it up a little bit, guys. I'm going to read two, and then you guys can choose to react to one of them so we can get through here. Toledo Central Catholic, top-ranked Fighting Irish, 15-0, take a 30-game winning streak into their bid for a second straight state playoff championship. They won the Division II state title a year ago. Also, Columbus Bishop Watterson, they're competing in their sixth state final. Their last appearance was 2010.
Well, all I've got to say quickly about that particular matchup is look at the combined records of the two teams. Central Catholic 15-0, Watterson 14-1. And if you're an analytics, numbers kind of guy or gal watching on Facebook tonight, all the teams playing this weekend, so 7 games times 2. I'm a Columbus Public Schools grad. I'm not real good at math, but that's 14 teams. Their combined record, 189-17. So certainly all these teams are good, especially in Division III. That'll be the case.
Last team to beat Toledo Central Catholic, Massillon Tigers. That was the team that beat them 22 games ago. Is that what I think you mentioned, Bill?
Yeah.
So that was they're good. They're a good program. I mean, certainly you win that many games and that many state championships. They're something else. It's going to be a great matchup for them. Bishop Watterson, again, a team that we don't see too often. We do this time of year because they're in the playoffs. I mean, they're typically a team that gets to the playoffs. Another solid team, well coached. They do things the right way. I mean, they don't make mistakes and shoot themselves in the foot. That's the kind of team they are. And when you put all that together, that sometimes breeds success.
Okay. All right, we'll move on here to Cleveland Glenville, a team we just saw. Derek, I'll start with you. They had a big win against Canton South. They've gone through a tough group. Their senior class missed 2020. They did not have a season, so to be here now, a couple years later, the state championship, pretty great for that program after getting their first last year. But like I said, didn't play in 2020. I mean, kind of a full circle moment 4 years later to go for back-to-back.
You talk about a program that, does things the right way, and Coach Ginn definitely has his guys tuned up this year, but he's got some stud athletes. I mean, like Division I type guys that definitely have come to play this year. Saw him against a Canton South team last week that was Canton South's best team ever, and it was a man against boys type thing. And exciting to see what they do this weekend.
Kettering Archbishop Alter, I'll start with you, Frank, here. They're looking for their third state title. They shut out Cincinnati, Wyoming 17-0. At this point in the playoffs, if you're walking into a state title coming off a shutout, pretty impressive.
Yeah, Alter is one of those teams. Years ago, I worked in the hotel industry. And just to give you an idea, it was, I'm trying to think, sometime in the 90s, it seemed like they were here all the time, whether they were playing for a state championship or in the playoffs. And that's another program that when you talk about the good programs and the programs that have success year after year after year, Kettering Alder is one of those. And they're just one of those teams that just keep going. They're a machine.
And Bill, for you, Perry, 15-0 this season, but the note for Perry I made here, they beat Kirtland, right? That's a big win to come into the state championship with.
Well, Kirtland has certainly been one of the, and we'll get into them in just a moment, but one of the powerhouses. We talked about how good Marion Vocal has been. Kirtland fits that bill in another division. But you look at the matchup in D5, Perry taking on Liberty Center, a matchup of 15-0 teams. I mean, one of those schools is going to be elated, 16-0. The other one's going to suffer their first loss of the year in the state championship game. That matchup going to be Saturday at 3 here at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium.
A couple more guys before we get to Massillon Hoban and then send it up. We appreciate everybody tuning in with the OHSAA pregame tailgate show. Billy Beebe, Bill Morgan, Frank Sloan, and Derek Philo with you. We're representing WHBC Sports, 1480 WHBC HBC. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Guys, Liberty Center, they have been climbing the ladder of D5 the last couple of years. Regional final, last year semifinal, and then now in the state title. Derek, pays off to kind of keep building when you want to win like that.
Oh, heck yeah, and it builds a culture at your school, and the younger kids, they grow up in that culture, and I think that's exactly what we're seeing there.
Everybody knows Kirtland. I think everybody's pretty familiar with them. Tiger Laverde, yes, Tiger Laverde has a 228-20 record over there. I mean, Frank, so impressive, and when these coaches are here, when they're in Canton, when they get together, Tiger sticks out.
Yeah, he does, and he's one of the guys that, like you said, Billy, when he's around a lot of coaches, they want to go talk to him. They want to find out, what is your success formula? What are you doing? Because, I mean, Kirtland does not have open enrollment, and they're proud of that. They bring those kids up through the system, and they play one system, and that's Tiger's system, and there's no doubt who is the boss in Kirtland.
Just a couple minutes left here, Bill. Quickly with Versailles, they also defeated Kirtland Division 5 state championship game. That was their first title since 2003. Rematch. Now they'll get Kirtland again. You want to be the best, you got to beat the best, right?
Well, to get to the state championship, you certainly have to do that. One of the things, and I'll jump back to Versailles in a moment, but you talked about Tiger Laverde meeting Kirtland. If they ever make a movie about high school football in the state of Ohio, they may have to pay him rights fees to use his name. I mean, can you come up with a better name for a high school football coach than Tiger Laverde? That's outstanding. But the Versailles, they probably like maybe being pinned, maybe, in Division 6 as the underdog in this game. I don't know that they are. I don't know how you determine favorites and underdogs in high school football, but they know how to win state championships. You addressed that earlier. They're 13-2 this season.
All right, Marion local. We already talked about it, guys. The amount of state championships is ridiculous. They search for another one. That'll be an interesting matchup for them. And then Dalton, they'll lead things off on Saturday. They are one of the teams looking for number one. So quickly, gentlemen, as we wrap up here, we appreciate everybody tuning in. Stay tuned, watch, listen, however you want to take in these games over the next couple days. One game tonight. Massillon's looking for their first state title. Hoban's looking to make sure Massillon stays little brother as they have the past couple of years. Bill, some quick final thoughts on this game tonight.
I think this is the year Massillon gets it done. We've seen so many challenges for Nate Moore and company in the past, but you know what? This is the year with the talent. It doesn't mean Hoban couldn't win. I just think this year is the year the Tigers finish the trick.
I agree with you, Bill, as far as Massillon Tigers go. But overall, I think the talent that is here this weekend of all the teams is one of the most impressive that I have seen in the many years that I've been here covering these games. And I think that the fans are going to get a lot of good excitement because these games this weekend I think are going to be fun.
Well, you look at this one. This place is rocking, I'm telling you what. And we're inside right now, and it's still kind of loud in here, but I'll tell you, it's going to be a fun one. I am excited about the matchup between the defensive front from Massillon against the offensive line from Hoban.
To tell you how exciting that is, that's a quarterback saying that. Normally he'd be singing the praises of the quarterbacks.
I coach D-line, though. So.
Fair enough.
I like it. And again, we're live at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium on the club level. I know there's seats still available over the next couple days, guys. And if you haven't checked out the Hall of Fame Village or anything, and you want to take in a game, an extra game if you're already going to one, do it. Trust me, it is an experience, right, Nate? There you go. The Tiger fans are all ready to go. So make sure you stay tuned. OHSAA.org. That's where you can get all your info. Spectrum News 1 you can watch, the Spectrum News app, and also OHSAA Watch. That's the best place to take in the games here. For Derek Philo, Frank Salona, Bill Morgan, I'm Billy Beebe. Appreciate you tuning in, and gotta love some football, right?